Imagine this. A man from Busan, who was once just a high school kid excelling in contemporary ballet class, now sits across the table from the President of the United States. His photo is officially posted on the Mexican presidency's account. His name even comes up when the governor of Jakarta meets the deputy mayor of Seoul. This isn't fiction. This isn't staged. This is the real world of Park Jimin, better known to all of us as Jimin of BTS. In this video, we're going to break down, one by one, the moments when some of the most powerful officials on the planet, from heads of state to city leaders, appeared genuinely charmed by this one person. Grab a snack, because we're starting at the White House. Let's rewind a bit, to a moment fans still consider one of the highest points in BTS's international history, their visit to the White House. They were officially invited to speak about anti-Asian hate crimes, as part of the celebration of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. This was no small invitation. It's a political stage usually reserved for major figures, diplomats, or foreign leaders. All 7 members of BTS, including Jimin, stood at that podium and delivered a closing speech with such confidence that they earned tremendous praise from everyone in attendance. But the most interesting part actually came from behind the scenes. In one documentary episode chronicling their journey, a personal moment surfaced. Jimin having a one-on-one conversation with President Joe Biden. Jhope, one of his fellow members, later shared just how nervous Jimin was in that moment. Not because he couldn't understand English, but because of how nerve-wracking the situation itself was. Sitting face-to-face with the leader of the United States, discussing serious topics like diversity and inclusion. Picture the pressure. This wasn't a magazine interview or a casual entertainment press conference. This was a one-on-one conversation with the head of a superpower, where every word could become tomorrow's headline around the world. What's striking is that instead of feeling stiff or overly formal, the interaction actually revealed something else, the soft power carried by this new generation of Korean pop culture. A president like Biden made time not just for a ceremonial photo op, but for a genuine personal conversation with one member of the group. That's our first piece of evidence. When the president of a global superpower takes the time to personally chat with a K-pop idol, that's not a coincidence. It's a signal that a figure like Jimin's appeal has moved beyond the entertainment industry and into the realm of cultural diplomacy. But hold on, because the United States wasn't the only superpower that seemed captivated. Let's move from Washington, D.C. to Mexico City, because this is where the story gets even more interesting and a little controversial too. Recently, the public was abuzz over an official post from the Mexican presidency's account showing BTS's visit to the National Palace. All 7 members were welcomed like state guests, complete with a moment greeting tens of thousands of fans from the palace balcony, a scene usually reserved for a head of state addressing citizens from a royal or presidential balcony. Picture the scale of it. 50,000 people gathering in front of the presidential palace, not for an inauguration or a state address, but to watch 7 young men from South Korea wave from that very same balcony. There was, however, one small detail that sparked plenty of discussion among fans both in Indonesia and internationally. In one of the official photos posted by the palace, Jimin appeared cropped out at the edge of the frame. A number of media accounts and news outlets picked up that photo for their coverage before many noticed this small detail. Reactions from the fan community were mostly lighthearted, with plenty of jokes rather than outrage. But regardless of that detail, the core fact remains the same. An official office of a sovereign nation formally posted about and celebrated the presence of a K-pop group at their palace. This isn't just a celebrity meeting an official anymore. This was a state-level moment, officially documented by a government institution. Think about the logic of it. No government would casually allow a moment like this to happen in their ceremonial spaces, let alone open the palace balcony for tens of thousands of people to witness, unless they clearly understood the magnetic pull this group, including one of its major draws, Jimin, carries. This shows how pop culture, particularly through a figure like Jimin, has become an effective tool of public diplomacy. It's not just about a catchy song or tight choreography. It's about how their presence alone can move tens of thousands of people to gather in front of a symbol of state power, the presidential palace. And interestingly, this wave of fascination didn't stop at the presidential level. It trickled all the way down to city government, including, believe it or not, all the way to Jakarta. This next part might feel especially close to home if you're based in Indonesia. Jakarta's governor, Pramono Anung, revealed during an official meeting that he had discussed the possibility of BTS performing in Jakarta later this year. This discussion didn't happen in some casual entertainment chat. It came up during an official meeting between the governor of Jakarta and the deputy mayor of Seoul. Take a moment to consider how unusual that is. Two city government leaders from two different countries, in an official city-to-city cooperation agenda, ended up touching on the possibility of a K-pop group's concert. This isn't just a governor who happens to like concerts. It's a signal that the presence of a hugely popular music group is considered significant enough to be raised in intercity diplomacy because of its real impact on tourism, the creative economy, and a city's global image. This lines up with another fact already proven in South Korea itself. Foreign visitor numbers to South Korea during the month of a BTS concert were recorded as the highest first quarter total ever documented. In other words, the group's effect on tourism isn't just fan talk. It's official data that local governments can measure and analyze. So when a city governor brings this up in an official meeting with a deputy mayor from another country, it means local leaders themselves understand that a phenomenon like BTS and the personal appeal of its members, including Jimin, carries strategic value that goes far beyond simple entertainment. That completes our chain of evidence. From the president of a superpower to a presidential palace opening its balcony for tens of thousands of people, all the way to a meeting room between a governor and a deputy mayor. Every level of government, from the very top down to the level closest to our daily lives, ended up talking about the exact same phenomenon. Now let's take a step back and ask, why does all this happen? What is it about someone like Jimin and BTS as a whole that lets them walk into spaces usually reserved for the most formal and exclusive settings, like a national palace or an official diplomatic meeting? The answer lies in a concept international relations scholars call soft power. Unlike military or economic power, which relies on force, soft power works through cultural appeal, values, and image. South Korea, through the Hallyu Wave, has proven itself one of the most successful countries in the world at leveraging this kind of power. BTS, with Jimin as one of its most iconic faces, represents one of the peaks of that soft power strategy. When a music group can draw tens of thousands of people to a presidential palace, when their presence can push tourist numbers to a record high, and when their name ends up on the agenda of an official meeting between city governments, that's real economic and diplomatic power at play, not just teenage fan hysteria, as it was often dismissively described in the past. On top of that, the personal factor can't be ignored either. Jimin is widely known for his ability to build genuine personal connections with anyone he meets, fellow artists, fans, or public figures alike. His background as a disciplined dancer since his school days at Busan Arts High School, majoring in modern dance and contemporary ballet, shaped a character that's detail-oriented, hardworking, and attentive to the people around him. The kind of character that naturally makes anyone who interacts with him feel valued. It's this combination, a global-scale cultural phenomenon paired with a genuinely warm personal character, that ultimately creates this cross-level charm effect, from a dinner table with a president to a meeting room with a mayor. What's fascinating about this whole story is how the line between the entertainment world and the world of politics and governance keeps getting blurrier. We used to imagine a K-pop idol only dealing with stages, cameras, and fans. Today, we're watching them sit down for informal conversations with heads of state, perform from palace balconies, and get name-checked in inter-city cooperation agendas. This isn't just about Jimin as an individual. It's about how a pop culture industry, when managed well and backed by genuinely strong work and personal character, can become a force taken seriously by policymakers, from presidents all the way down to mayors. And for those of us following this journey from a phone or TV screen, there's a certain pride in watching someone who was once just the BTS trainee with the shortest training period among all the members, now sitting in conversation with the leader of a superpower, welcomed like a state guest at a presidential palace, and mentioned in an official city government forum. So, from the White House in Washington, to the presidential palace in Mexico City, to a meeting room between the governor of Jakarta and the deputy mayor of Seoul, we've seen how the appeal of Jimin and BTS as a whole genuinely cuts through every layer of power. from presidents all the way to mayors. This isn't just a story about fame. It's a story about how culture, hard work, and personal character can open doors that once seemed impossible for a young man from Busan to reach. So, which moment surprised you the most? Was it Jimin's conversation with President Biden? The moment Mexico's palace opened its balcony for 50,000 fans? Or the fact that his name came up in a meeting between Jakarta's governor and a Seoul official? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this left you just as amazed as it left us, hit like, subscribe for more updates on BTS and the world of K-pop, and turn on notifications so you're always first to know when new stories drop. See you in the next video.